Okay. Okay. Had a little bit of a late start this morning, but we're here. Let's see. Looking at the 200 EMA here on our hour chart. Looks like we're still above the 200 EMA, still pushing up, so we're only taking longs. As we can see, same as the last trading day. What day is today? Today's Monday. As Friday, we're starting with the market either sort of downtrending. I guess this looks like more of a range, but looks kind of like it's trying to downtrend right now. We're going to be patient. We're going to wait. We're going to wait for a nice long, good long setups. Wait for it to start trending up again, and then we'll take longs. Could actually buy one here, but buying one here at the open, you never know if this is actually going to hold this line and push up or if it's going to continue down. So I like to stay out of it right at the open. The delta looks actually pretty good for a push to the long side right now. So I expect that it'll push up right here, but I don't expect it enough that I would add, not just yet. And speaking of which, the I'm sure we all hear that like most traders fail because they do. And so today I want to focus on probably what I think is the one like key thing that I think actually helps me a lot as far as like being consistent, and that is scaling into positions over time. So what I find with a lot of other people who stream on YouTube or stream on really any platform or just make YouTube videos or whatever, right? Most of them are looking for like these huge entries or like let's say they're day trading with an account that's like 25K. They're basically putting their entire account or close to their entire account into one trade and hoping that they're correct right from the get-go basically, and they'll put in their stop wherever, and most of the time their stop gets hit, but sometimes it runs and hits their take profit, and they're hoping that that take profit is significantly larger than whatever stop size they're using, which is all well and good. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think it's personally very difficult to try to be correct. So like looking at this chart, right? If I was to say I think I'm going to buy right at 13,780, right? That means I'm going to buy there and I'm going to put a stop at like the swing low. So the swing low is what? 13,765. Just for easy numbers. That means I'm literally trying to pinpoint this exact spot, which I think is just very, very difficult to do. And to be honest, it's a little bit unrealistic to think that you're going to consistently be correct doing that. Now, if you tell me like I think the market is going to bounce, rather than say I think it's going to bounce right at 13,780, which we just tapped here. You say I think the market's going to bounce in. Let's look in this range at a range between 13,780 and 700 even, right? That's 80 points, so that's a huge range, which is why I'm not adding here, obviously. But if you think the range is gonna, if you think the market's gonna bounce within like an 80-point range, it's way easier to be correct. And so you just set up your account is what 25K. So you'll say, okay, I'll buy with like I don't know, like 8K the first time. If it comes down to a next level and I see another long signal, I'll add another 8K. And if it comes down and I see another long signal, I'll add a third, like for a third time, 8K. That'll give you 24K out of your 25K day trading account. So now you've like scaled into a position over time, over a bigger range, and at any point you have it gives you much more breathing room and a larger and a longer time frame for where you can end up being correct rather than like okay it shoots down and you're getting destroyed. So give yourself space and like scale into positions. That's the one like thing that I think has made like the biggest difference for me. Other than that, the rest of it is all the usual things you hear, like be patient, don't take bad trades, create a plan and stick to it, all the usual nonsense. You see Delta is still pushing up. We're just under VWAP. If it doesn't create a low here and starts pushing up like that again, I think I might add one. And that would only be because I'm seeing the delta make a high. And so I'm essentially thinking that price will follow. It doesn't always and it doesn't have to, but I think that it will.
Order filled.
So we'll add one. Hopefully we can get through VWAP here. We have the break of VWAP. We're pushing. Take profits at $500. My stop, I think, is at 1500. Yeah, stops at 1500. Yeah. And just because of the way this looks right now, I'm not really wanting to add. I would rather just, like if this really starts making a low and breaks under here, I'll probably just cut it off and just leave it and let it push up. If it gets above the first standard deviation, then I'll move my stop somewhere profitable and just try to capture whatever I can get. But the morning is looking a little choppy. The delta itself is still pushing up, as you can see here. This is the delta. Is actually pushing up very strongly. This may end up being a quick morning. So I think that's close enough. So I'm gonna move my stop somewhere profitable. I'm not basically once I get profitable towards a certain amount, like I'm not willing to take a loss on that contract anymore. As much as I know, like, your risk reward ratio being a certain amount is good. Like I enter my position with a 1 to 3 risk reward, which is technically not good, right? Or a lot of people would consider bad. So obviously I don't adhere to that rule too much. And that's just personal preference. I think for me, I prefer to be positive most days. And, like if I'm gonna have a loser day, I'm just gonna have my loser day. My losing days are never gonna be more than $1,500. So I just prefer to be positive most days and then be wrong every once in a while rather than go for that higher risk reward ratio and be wrong more often. To me, that's just a bit more stressful and I don't deal with it as well. It'd be nice if this would push above the deviation and it didn't, came
Stop
back down.
filled.
So if this comes down again, doesn't make a low and starts coming back up, then I will look to add again. Or you know what, maybe I might scratch that just because I don't like being around VWAP like this. And this is what I mean by VWAP is very tricky. Like, you look at this, the market has gone above, gone below, fakes below, goes back up, basically double tops, comes underneath, chops around VWAP, finally looks like it's gonna break out, decides not to and goes back up. Like I don't like trading around VWAP because there's just so much manipulation. Like I can't explain, you know, logically why this is happening. I mean, I can try to, but I don't necessarily know if it's correct. I don't know what, and nobody does. Nobody knows what the motivation for this is except for, the market makers who actually participated in this and moved the price up here and down here and created all this choppiness around VWAP. So I like to not trade around VWAP too much. Another time looking at Delta, if we weren't at VWAP, looking at Delta pushing up like this, I would be trying to buy all these lows and just moving my stops up fairly quickly and capturing. I'd probably end up with a bunch of trades that were like $100, $200. But hey, those beat being negative. But for now, we'll sit and chill. Like, see, this is such a clean formation here. This looks like such a good time to go long. I'm just hesitant to, again, because of the way VWAP is setting up here. Every time, I have something that looks like, oh, I should do something, and it's around VWAP, I feel like it's a trap. And half the time it is, which is why I don't do anything. We're up 120 on the day. Something I need to also work on is figuring out how much do I want to make like in a day, and it's got to be an amount that's realistic that I can actually target and actually hit on any given day. I think like something like $500 is realistic on the Nasdaq anyway. Using a single contract, you can realistically hit $500 day in and day out. 500 bucks is only what, 25 points on the Nasdaq, which is really not all that hard to do. I mean, we've already had 25-point moves up and down today, and it's only the first 15 minutes. However, I find that most of the trades I take are very, very small gains. Most of my trades I'll make underneath 200, sometimes under 100, because I move my stop up to break even. But this is a classic example of why. If I hadn't done that and I had still had my stop down here, I wouldn't be stopped out here necessarily, but this would be painful to watch. It's hard to watch yourself going from up 200 to basically down 200, and the market's pushing. You see cumulative delta forms like a nice red bar there, and now this is looking like you're gonna get stopped out. Like I just don't like being in that position. I don't like that feeling. I guess that makes me a fearful trader. I'm certainly not greedy, that's for sure. Again, right here, if this could have gotten above this, this would have been a good entry for me normally, but I just don't like again, it would have been pushing right up into VWAP, which is just not, you don't want to buy going into VWAP, and you don't want to short. Like if you're pushing up and it starts coming down, like you don't want to short as it's trying to go into VWAP, hoping for like a breakout, basically. The only times I'm trying to take VWAP trades are if it's Where's a good example of it? It's not really one that's happened lately, but if you have like a strong move into VWAP, let's say shrink this here, make this wider. But let's say you have like a strong move into VWAP, like the market's way up here, and then suddenly it starts tanking and it drops and it hits VWAP. VWAP is this yellow line, by the way. It drops into VWAP and then bounces. Usually those VWAP bounces are great plays. They're very, very consistent usually. This is kind of an example of one, but not really. There's not really a strong move into VWAP. Anyway, feel free to YouTube it. You can YouTube VWAP bounce and I'm sure it'll come up. I know Trades by Matt has a short video that explains it pretty clearly. So here's another thing. This is not what I'm doing, but here's another strategy I know people are using. They're going to go from open. Where's 830? 830 is here. And they're going to start drawing trend lines, right? So 830, they see it comes up, double tops with the previous peak from pre-market at 8 a.m. They're gonna, just note that, and they see that okay, we're forming a downward channel. So they're drawing their trend line now, and they're gonna go find a low somewhere. I don't necessarily know where exactly, but they'll find a low in here somewhere. For me personally, I'd probably take like just the low from all of that. I'd probably start here and go with that. And they're going to draw their trend lines. They're going to look at this downward channel. They're saying, okay, this thing came up to VWAP, hit VWAP, rejected, and is coming down. It's finally broken out of the little, like we've been trapped around VWAP, right, for a while. If you think of VWAP as a magnet, pulling the price back to it, we get below, it comes back above, get above, comes back below. Just repeating that over and over. Finally, we've broken away from the magnet, which is VWAP, and we're downtrending. So they're going to draw their trend lines. They're going to extend these. My chart doesn't allow me to extend my trend lines past, but they're going to draw their trend lines and just keep adjusting. As soon as this starts to come back up, they're going to look at, see, this is volume here. This is where people have been buying or where the most contracts have participated so far on the day. They're going to wait for it to get back to this area. As long as it's still below this trend line and it, you know, comes up and starts coming down, thus forming like a lower peak, a lower high, they're gonna start scaling short. They're gonna take their short position and hope this thing can push down further and make a new low on the day. That's what other people are gonna be looking at. And then they're gonna actually do the opposite. They're gonna go over here and say, on their time chart, because most people look at time charts, right? They're gonna say, oh, we're way above, whatever line. We're above the 200 EMA, we're above the 50 EMA, we're above whatever, right? And they're going to say, oh, we're extended to the long side. We've pushed up too much over the past couple days. It's time for the market to drop because we've been pushing up so much. So they're going to do the whole counter trend thing. and some of them will look and see like on time charts, they'll see, okay, we have this big engulfing bar on the hour chart. The 30 is going to show another big engulfing bar for sure. Engulfing bar on the 30, bearish engulfing bar on the 15, bearish engulfing bar showing up on the, well, this is more like a, I think evening star they call it, but regardless, it's a bearish signal on the 5. And so they're going to say they have time frame confluence on the short side. So they're going to start shorting the crap out of this thing. And that's how you get these big these big moves, right? Where you see like an obvious setup and everyone's going to take it. Myself, I'm over the 200 EMA, so I am only going to take the long trades. You know, I'll take notice of the short setups here. And when I see short setups that are coming in like this, right? Like I know anywhere this pushes up to until it makes a like a higher high somewhere or like a local high, sorry. Um, I'm not going to take longs. Like even if this starts pushing up, I'm not going to take longs yet because I know that on the flip side of that, somebody, or not just somebody, a lot of people are waiting for this to form a lower high and then come back down. So I'm not going to take any longs off of here, not just yet. That's actually another mistake I see a lot of people make just as watching other YouTube videos and whatever, being a little early because they're not quite they're aware that like when you're day trading, it's a game and you're literally playing against other participants, but they're not, I guess, cognizant enough of it in all their trades. Like, I'm definitely not going to long somewhere when I know there's plenty of other people literally looking to short the next move after my long. And then conversely, also stick to your plan, right? Like I'm not going to, because I see that these short setups are coming. This is not my original plan. This is not what I'm comfortable doing. It's not what I want to do. So I'm not going to take those shorts either. I'm just going to let this all play out and let the market continue to show its hands. And I can sit here for an hour and wait and chill. And if it gives me the setup I'm looking for later, then I'll take that. See, this is one of those times like this where I'll just play video games or watch Netflix. Nothing crazy engaging. See, this is one of those times like this where oops, I had to mute stream there because was looping. But yeah, I'll like I know I'm not gonna get an entry for a while. Not if I'm adhering to what I want to take because even if like best case scenario for me to get an entry is this pushes up, breaks this trend line, gets through VWAP, and then starts pushing back down. And then once it starts pushing back down, that's when I'm now needing to pay attention and find like an entry. And for it to do that could take a while. So then moments like this, again, just for that mental, so you have that mental clarity and like for the sake of your I guess staying sane, don't distract yourself totally, but have something else that you can like do that's not going to take you so far away from trading that you're missing things. but at the same time gives you like a break, right? Staring at charts, it's very easy to for emotions to creep in and to start wanting to take like this is actually not it's not perfect, but it's not the worst short setup either. I personally would never take this, not here, but anyway. Um, like as you stare at charts and as time passes, it becomes we become more eager, or I find myself that I personally become more eager and I want to get into trades and jump into whatever, I want to make money, right now. And I see that, okay, the market's been doing this, there's an opportunity here, there's a chance, let me just participate, let me get in. I'll move my stop up, down or up quickly, and I'll just get whatever I can get, right? And then you get in at an inopportune time and it never even goes profitable. You're always right on that trade. Been in that situation so many times, just because I got impatient because I was staring at markets. And so what I find the best way to deal with that for me personally is to just at these times when I know, okay, it's going to be a while because I know I'm only taking longs above the 200 EMA, uh, and I'm only going to take when it's trending upwards and we're in a current downtrend. I'll just walk away from the screen, or not necessarily walk away, but like I said, I'll go play like some Call of Duty or Valorant's what I've been playing the most lately, or just straight up watch Netflix. But for the sake of streaming, I won't do any of that because that would be a whole different video. I don't like when I draw trend lines and the slope of these two lines are different. I can't stand that. Like I know it doesn't matter, but it's just like an OCD thing. But then you like make the slopes accurate and or even, and then the trend line doesn't make any sense. Okay, so Nasdaq is trying to push up here. We're seeing some buyers come in, not really, not much though. If I had to guess right now, I would say that this is more likely to hit volume somewhere and then to start selling off, but that could change at any time. So we will wait and see. Draw a volume profile on here. I used to be huge on volume profile and then I kind of stopped caring about it. So yeah, you can see a value area high is the green line, and then you have the point of control where the most contracts have been done on the day. So then we'll see here, this is what I meant by when I was drawing this trend line. There are going to be plenty of traders who, after seeing this move down, they're going to have drawn a trend line similar to this one. They're going to see VWAP is above it, a big volume node is above it here. Sorry, this yellow line is VWAP, just to make that clear. They're going to see this big volume node that's right there, also matching VWAP, and they're going to look to short like all through this area, which is why I'm not, as much as I want to take longs, and this would have, like you see it extended to the downside, and it can, on a very long time frame, you could say this is a pullback, right? And so as soon as it pulled back here and started showing signs of going up, and I'll zoom in here a bit, like, pulled back, bounced off the line, you see it's forming like a little bit of a higher low here, and then it starts pushing up. could have bought this, but I didn't because I'm anticipating that people are going to want to short all of this or all through this area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait to see if we can break through this first and then see if we can get a pullback down that forms a higher low somewhere here or wherever, and then I'll long rather than taking this right off the bat because this is more risky. Granted, in hindsight, right, it's already pushed enough that I would have been able to get out profitably on this, but hindsight's 2020. I didn't know that it would make this move just like that beforehand, right? So as you can see, this trend line is technically broken. We can adjust here just for the sake of making it hard on ourselves, but it's pushed up enough that um, it's pushed up enough that if it was to pull back now and create a nice higher low, then I would long. I don't like this volume profile, it just makes the chart seem messy to me. I already have enough crap on my charts as it is. Buyers in control on the delta. We'll see if it can stay that way though. Come to a very critical point. Will this get through the trend line, VWAP, and volume? Or will it push down? This is also what I meant about VWAP bounces, right? When you see a strong move like this is a strong move. You see a strong move into VWAP, it tends to hit it and then bounce. We'll see if it actually plays out that way. It usually does, but we'll see if it does this time. Currently up just 120 on the day. We'll be patient and see if we can't get some more here somewhere. And so going back to the earlier point of the video, right? This is why I say I think the single most helpful thing for me in terms of being consistent. Um, and to be clear, doing this is not going to, well, not always, um, but doing this that won't necessarily increase the total. Like let's say if you're trying to make 1,000 or like 2,000 or 3,000, it's not necessarily going to help you make more money, but it's going to help you be more consistent in being profitable at all, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, I don't know, comment or ask or whatever. But basically, I could buy here or short here, right? And treat this almost like a midpoint because it's VWAP. So I could short VWAP and expect, the bounce and for it to come back down off of volume. And and if it doesn't, I can start scaling in at points that make sense above. And most likely at some point, like within my trade, I would be either break even or profitable, even if it like I mean, if obviously the first entry you're taking, you're hoping it goes in your favor, right? Like if I was to take the short first, I'm hoping that it comes down, and it very well could, and then I would just take profit on whatever on the one contract. If it didn't and started coming up, then I would look to short uh, on moments when it makes sense to, and then again hope that it comes back towards my average in and take off like either one contract at a time or just dump all of it or heck even hold all of it and go for the big trade once it starts getting back to the downside. On the flip side, you can scale in. I could just long here and say, okay, I'm just gonna buy VWAP. If it decides to come back down, uh, then I'll add a second contract at a point where it makes sense to, on let's say like a higher low. Uh, and then again, same deal, just hoping to average into a good position so that at some point when it gets back to starts going back in your favor, you're profitable. Rather than, I could go with like three contracts short right here. It goes up to, you know, 805 and I'm out because I went in with big size right off the bat. I gave myself no space and so I'm done. And same thing vice versa. Okay. Looks like it's trying to get bearish here again. See, and this puts me kind of in a weird spot if this starts pushing down from here without getting a bit higher than this. Just because, like, you can very easily draw this and say it's still, downward trend line, right? Which is, I think that's one of the difficult things or one of the cons of trend lines is that until it actually breaks, like, you can still consider so many other things just an adjustment of the trend line and still say the trend is holding. But regardless, what I'm looking for now is the push down to form a higher low and then for it to push back up. Ideally, I would have liked to see it have gotten a little bit higher than this before coming back down. However, I think as long as this doesn't make a low, I think that as long as this doesn't make a new low on the day, what we're seeing is either going to be, uh, or this next higher low will probably push back to, you know, maybe somewhere around volume slightly lower, or it will actually break up. So either we're going to chop sideways and I'll be buying a low, um, or it actually is changing trend. It's just doing it slowly over time and it's going to make more of a rounding shape. We won't know until it's happened, but those would be my guesses. So for now, it's just again to remain patient and just chill. Okay, so we've got a nice break above here. The delta's looking strong. This trend line, as you can see, is officially whatever on this downtrend. So that's out of the picture. We can remove that. So now what I'm looking for is a higher low. Higher low comes in, we're taking our first contract and we're gonna hold on
and wait as long as we can manage to, right? Our challenge here is to be patient or to continue to be patient. You never want to, like, so I think a lot of people make this mistake as well in trading breakouts. They see a horizontal line. We'll draw from here. We'll go this way. What the heck? Let me adjust. Okay. So they draw like a line, right? Or they're picturing a line like that, and they're seeing this as like a breakout point, right? Like if you drew like a trend line or a resistance or a support or whatever, they're saying like, okay, this is resistance. If we can get above this, we'll take a long. And they're looking at delta here, or they're looking at something else, or MACD or whatever it is, right? MACD over here. They're looking at MACD. This is a long time frame. Let's go to a smaller one, right? So they're looking at MACD. MACD is giving them like a buy signal on their 5-minute chart or their 15-minute chart, right? MACD is about to give them a buy signal. They're looking at that, and then they come over to whatever other charts they're using, and they see, okay, I've drawn this resistance here. So as soon as it breaks this, or as soon as it touches it, they'll take a long. The problem with taking a long here is you're taking it at the high, and you just don't want to do that. Like it's a recipe for getting wrecked, right? Like it's very easy to take this long here on this breakout, not realize this is a potential liquidity zone. It'll push up to this area here just above. You'll be profitable for a couple minutes, and then it drops. It just shoots down. So don't buy peaks like that. Like don't get me wrong, like I'm a big proponent of buy high and sell higher. I'm a huge proponent of that, especially when it comes to long term like investing type things. Buy high, sell higher. But don't when it comes to trading and especially like stuff like this, and then when you're seeing a move like this, be very wary and very careful of setting a resistance or like this or support or whatever and trying to trade the breakout. And if you do, then make sure your stops are very tight. And unfortunately, you just have to deal with the reality that um, your stop's gonna get hit a lot. It's probably gonna get hit like I don't know, I don't have an actual number, but 4 out of 5 times that stop's gonna get hit. But that 1 out of 5 times your take profit is gonna be very big because essentially it breaks out and it never goes back underneath that entry point, right? It never goes back to your stop. And so the whole day it stays above, and it's just a matter of capturing a profit, wherever. But for now, we're chilling. We're just waiting, being patient. I'm tired of saying we're being patient, but we're being patient. This is the other thing that I hate seeing is when it pushes up without you. It always hurts, no matter how many times I see it happen. No matter how much I know, like the right thing to do is to wait for the pullback. It's always painful to see it going without you, right? And then honestly, if you trade long enough, you will eventually run into that time where you literally do everything right. You're very patient. You spend like hours and hours waiting for that perfect setup, and you see the setup, you take it, and it just doesn't work. I'm not gonna lie, it's very, very irritating and disheartening, but it's all part of the game. Just gotta deal with it. Trading is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. Even people with who are making huge amounts per day, thousands and multiples of thousands. Uh, Even those guys, they're doing that because their account size is large, or they're over leveraging and getting lucky. But that's a whole different topic. I think our standard deviation is exactly 25 points by limit. Back, take profit, stop loss. Hmm. Wait, did I do my math wrong? 5 till. Oh, it's 15 points. Okay. So normally I would say this drop is not much, but the standard deviation is so small today. Like this is only 15 points. So a single bar, each of these bars is 5 points, or it's 5.25 points anyway, but 5 points just for the sake of easy numbers. And with that being the case, like this move, as small as it was, is a pullback and a chance to go long. I'm not going to take it just because 15 points is so small. But today, given the size of the standard deviation between VWAPs, it is. And I know it probably sounds like I'm making every single excuse to not trade, but I mean, that's really how it should be. It's how it has to be if you're trying to be consistent anyway. Like, even if I only take that one trade today, right? Only the one trade and only have 120, it's not red. And if you did that every day, that'd be significant by the end of a year. And heck, some days you're gonna have, those are the best days. You just enter and it just goes in your favor and the market trends really hard all freaking day. You move your stop up somewhere, like you move your stop up and lock in like $1,000 profitable and just walk away. And you literally have no take profit. Just come in right before the end of the day and wherever it's at, you hit, exit, exit a market and cancel, and you just collect. Those are the freaking the best days. And they happen. There's almost one every month, more than that even. It's just a matter of maintaining your account so that you can trade every day, so that you can actually participate on those days where the market trends really hard in one direction. I guess as they say at Top Step or whatever, yeah, live to trade another day. I think that's their motto. So coming up on, we'll be an hour in roughly what, 2 minutes, 15 seconds. I generally don't trade for much more than 2 hours. The only reason I really ever stay for longer than 2 hours is if, I'm in a position and I'm trying to manage that current position, then I'll stick around just to see it through. But if we're getting to the 2 hour mark and I'm not already in a position, I don't go looking to enter. And that's just because I personally think the best times to trade are from to get down very, very specifically, I think probably from like 8:40, 8:45 up until like 10:30, 10:35, 10:45, somewhere around there. Anything anyway, before 11. So we'll just say 11. That's when I think the best times to trade are. After 11, because I'm in Texas, so I'm in Central Time. Around 11, um, out in New York, they start going on lunch, and so you do see a noticeable volume drop every single day, and the market tends to either range or chop, or sometimes it shoots off in one direction for whatever reason, but it becomes way less predictable in general. So I try not to trade during the lunch hours, which for me would be from like 11 to like 1. And then sometimes I'll come back towards the very end of the day and trade like the last hour, hour and a half, but most of the time by then I'm on to whatever. So if this can start to push up, the delta actually looks really strong to the bearish side. So we'll see if we get our bounce here. But if this can start to push up off of something, that I'll take a long and I'll add one. I was very tempted to there. I want to see it hold and sustain a little bit more before I do.
Order filled.
That's enough. So we're in for one. We'll see if it decides to shoot down. Let's zoom out, see what we're working with. 1500 is way down here, so really I think this is the invalidation point, is at 13,740. Around there I think is where there's really no more point in holding short. I'm sorry, in holding a long. But I will look to add more contracts if I can get a nice buy setup. And this is what I mean by why I say, like, I think the single most helpful thing for me has been to add contracts over time, right? Or over a range rather than just add all my contracts right at once. Because if I had added them all here, by now I would be hurting and looking at like how can I get out of this trade? Whereas now I have, like all this space that I'm okay with. Like I'm okay losing 1500 today. This is a lot of space. I mean, I'm not gonna claim that this can't come down here. This thing could rocket down here anytime because it's the Nasdaq. You know, Nasdaq's gonna do whatever the hell it wants to. Um, but having this much space is it's much easier to be profitable on any given day than I don't know, say having only 25 total points, which we've nearly hit already. And a lot of people have even tighter stops. I've seen people trading with like 10-point stops and 12-point stops, and I just don't know how you can try to be so specific, like so to the tick accurate all the time. Kind of a tricky situation here. I want to add, but this second contract would be quite close to the first one, and I prefer not to add so close to my first one like that. I'm looking at the delta and trying to see if buyers are coming in on the delta, and there's some, but not a whole lot showing there, so we'll leave it alone. Always good to check out news. I didn't check out news today before I started trading just because I kind of got a late start today. If this thing can get right above this deviation here, very tempting to buy there. Very tempting too. Also risky though. Like that's actually very risky because this thing could very easily, you know, push up to this area and then shoot down. I want to see this formation break. When you have these tight slopes down like this, it's usually pretty indicative that it's gonna continue in that direction, or you're gonna get like a nice shot in that direction. We'll see if it does play out that way. It also creates a second problem when it's very tight like this, and that 100% believe there are people who know that, you know, there's some market maker who knows that if they push this up here, It'll run everybody's stops who are underneath all of this, probably to this exact point here. They know that people's stops will get ran if they run, if they push it up to here. And so buying anything that looks like a breakout of this could end up being a trap and screw me. So kind of a tricky one that I find myself in here. Let's go look at 13,740. How much is 13,740 anyway? Ah, that's the low. 745 is the low of the day. I'm trying to think here. Truth be told, I should probably cut this off as soon as. Really, I should have cut it off as soon as I recognized that I was in a bad spot with this sloping down and even buying above this being not really being a good ad. That was the time to just cut it off immediately. Um, the alternative is to just stick with my 1500 that I'm okay losing for the day and to just keep looking for whatever long setup that I can find and see if I can't scale in. Which could be, again, could be very difficult here because as much as this is now showing some indication that it wants to bounce off of this support, I know that this is every buy until it makes some sort of like high is potentially a trap for me. Let's see. The delta and the chart match. There's not really any deviance between the two. So not much to gain or glean from that. Okay, looks like there's some sustain here. Looks like it's having a hard time getting underneath or coming down any further, but we'll see. May have spoke too soon.
Delta looks like it's trying to make lows, so the chart is probably going to follow suit and make a low. Yeah. And so looking at the chart, like the next resistance is actually where my stop is, meaning that it can definitely come down here and like stop me out all the way over here. As far away as it is, it can, but that's why I start with the one contract. If it wants to stop me out for the whole 1500 on one contract, then as much as that sucks, then so be it. It's better than being in there with three contracts and getting stopped out at 25 points and that being 1500. The alternative is I could make my trade very big and say I'm just going to go for a full 3K and just scale all the way into based on the hour chart, which would give me space all the way down to 13,650, right? I'd be able to hold past 13,650 actually. The question is this smart or is this just reckless? We've got big engulfings on the hour. The MACD is bearish. Let's see. Yeah, it's bearish pretty much on all time frames too. Is that the bounce or is that just people taking profits and it's about to come down more? Your volume profile on here just to see. So way up there, -3 standard deviation, a nice bounce off of that. If we can get above this one, I'll add a second. The downside is I will have to tighten up my stop to maintain that 1500.
Order filled.
Put that in. Also risky here because I don't see the delta. I don't see the delta really pushing up. Like there's a couple green bars, but I don't see it really pushing up. So what is this coming up on actually? The answer is that I don't know. To just stops while we're here. Tighten this up. We'll just move that to there. What's that looking like? Okay, it's a little under 1200 is where that is. All right, gonna try and be patient and try and let this run up and, put me at something profitable. I'm going to try anyway. Won't lie, emotions are high at the moment.
Order filled.
Taking the one off just because I'm a chicken. What am I at today? Okay, so I'm down a bit, but that's fine. Okay. So currently up 135, 140 on the day. Basically, I'll just say $100. Kind of want to call it quits, but 100 is not my target. Usually I'm trying to make 500 in a day. So let's chill. Let's do this. We'll just exhaust this push up. If this doesn't continue to push up, then we'll just be out. We'll tighten up our stop. See if we can get the push back up to VWAP. Where would a push up to VWAP even put us at? That's at 785. Well, push up to VWAP would actually be nice. 785, that'd be $700. Let's readjust. Let's do this here. Another break of the low would only be 370. That's fine. I can live with a $370 loss. We'll do that. We exercise patience on the drawdown. We're going to exercise patience on our take profit. We've already got out of the one contract uh, so that we're not in like a huge risky position anymore. So we'll chill and wait again. And this is what I mean by like when you trade with when you scale in, you can do stuff like what I just did, right? My first entry ended up being early, unfortunately, and I had a significant drawdown points wise, but I'm able to add a second contract much later and be relatively okay. Or I guess completely okay, right? I'm still up 100 something bucks. I want to see this thing push. I want to see it go hit VWAP and test volume. That's what I want to see. I want to see it get up to VWAP and test volume. Even if it doesn't necessarily break it, I want to see it touch it and test it, and I would be happy to take profit there. Anything before that will feel like I didn't really give it a chance to go. We can put that there. That should be roughly 700, 600, 690. Yeah.
Come on, get up there. This is also another one of those situations where I was talking about earlier. Like I would just go play some Call of Duty or go play whatever, or just go watch Netflix and just let this hit. It's either gonna hit my take profit or hit my stop. It's one or the other. And truth be told, whether it hits the take profit or my stop is fairly inconsequential to like what's gonna happen to me in life, right? Like it's not like this hitting this take profit, it's not like it's gonna make me rich. It's just gonna make, $700 on a day basically. And if it hits the stop, again, it's not like I'm going broke. I'm losing like $300 to $400 on the day, which neither one of those is really all that big a deal in the grand scheme of things. And still, like stress level elevated, heart rate going, and I don't know what it is about trading that just always seems to do that, no matter how long or whatever I've traded, like it's always been that way. But yeah, for sure, those emotions are the biggest thing to deal with. All right, be a little greedy here. So what I've done is I'm seeing on the delta that we're getting consecutive green bars and we're getting consecutive bars above. So I've taken all risk out, right? I can't be negative on the day anymore. This will lock in 465 on this trade and will put me up, I don't know, $200 probably if this stops me out. But if it continues to push up, then who knows what it would be. Don't stop me out. I thought you were going to keep pushing up. Let's keep going up. But after this, again, we have to be aware that, this is a peak and this could be a lower high. Like a lower high could form at any time. We just bought off of a higher low. So, technically the trend is still down on the day. We go look at our time-based charts. The 30-minute is forming actually a nice bullish candle there if it closes this way anyway. Closes in 5 minutes. Actually, they're all starting to show bullish patterns, so really I should be holding instead of trading scared. But I'm gonna trade scared. Trading scared has kept me in the game till now, so I'll be a chicken. So I'm alright with that. If it wants to go up there and be a home run, then I'll gladly let it. And we'll creep up. So every time it forms a bar, I'm going to creep up to just below that bar.
Stop filled.
Okay. And we're all out. We're up 320. It's not quite the 500 that I want in a day, but we've been trading for hour and a half roughly. I'll take 320 in an hour and a half. I'll call it good. Um, like I said from the beginning of the video, what I really wanted to show, or I guess stress today, is the one single thing that I really think has helped me more than anything else as far as, day trading is just simply understanding that it's better to be overfunded and under leveraged, right? So it's better to buy with just one contract, take the small size, and just add in over time and just scale into a winning trade. Because at some point, you should be able to scale into a winning position. And, let's be real. Um, First trade was okay. This entry here was ended up being terrible. This is absolutely a horrible entry. Like it pushed all the way down here, and I was still able to add in because it was just the one contract. So keep that in mind. Good luck to y'all. That's the end of my day, and y'all take care.